Hey, what's up guys? Sloth King here. Today we're going to be working on my Supra and we are going to try to find the leak on my AC system. So I have a UV light here. I did have some UV dye that I put into the system and I'm not too sure if it leaked out the first time that I was trying to fill it up, because if you guys remember that video, I had the one of the lines just pop off when I was filling it. But anyway, there should be a little bit of UV dye left in the system. If not, I'm going to be adding a little bit in there when I throw some more refrigerant in, so that way we can try to find out where the leak is. So this is probably going to take a little bit of time, so let's just jump right in and do it. All right, so in order to do this, we need to make sure that we have almost no ambient light around us. So I have the garage door closed. I'm going to shut off my work light and we're just going to go take a look to see if we can see any kind of UV dye that has leaked out. So let's go take a look. All right, it is nice and dark in here. Hopefully you can kind of see this on camera. All right, so you can see the alternator right here. So let's go ahead and just check out the compressor. So we are trying to find any green oil that is popping up whenever we shine our UV light around it. Hopefully you can see it on that valve right there. That is my low side valve. And there is a little bit of green around it, but you're mostly gonna get that because you're putting the fitting on and off. So some of that oil and refrigerant might pop out whenever you attach a line. So I'm not too concerned about that. I can go ahead and clean it up though. I'm looking at the lines on top of the compressor and I don't see any green on it. Maybe just a little bit. But I did have to remove one of the lines, but I will definitely keep that in mind. But it doesn't look like a lot is coming out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the lines on the front of the condenser. Hopefully this is all popping up just fine for you guys. If not, I apologize. I don't see anything. Here's the dryer. This is where the line popped off. When I was first filling it, it popped off on, from what I remember, this left side. So, or was it the right? No, it was the right side. I remember the right side being annoying to put on. I do see a little bit of green around there, just a little bit. So the lines come over here. I don't see anything on this guy, nor do I see any on these lines. Maybe a little bit right there. So nothing on the high side port. So the lines will come up and they route on the frame next to your air intake. I wanted to say air filter and then I said intake. So let's come up over towards the firewall and turbo area. Now there are a couple sensors on the side here, and for some reason I do see a blip of green on that bolt. I'm not too sure why. That's interesting. I don't see any on the lines themselves because there's two sensors right here. I don't see any there. I did have an issue with the low line here. It wouldn't thread in properly, but I don't see any green. Now, the other place to look is inside of the car. Now, let me see if I can try to see my evaporator without taking off any panels. Oh, you can see a little bit of the carpet light up green. That's interesting. Huh. Odd, but okay. and it leads up over. Oh, maybe you do have a leak in here. Oh. Can I see underneath here though? No, I cannot. I have to take off these panels. Dang it. All right, let me flip on the lights. All right, so hopefully that showed up just fine. I'm mostly just going to be able to see if it will pop up on screen when I go to edit this video. So I won't know until I'm editing it. But anyway, hopefully you kind of saw some of the green on there to try to give you an idea of what to look for. It's hard to show up on camera. I even tried taking a picture for a thumbnail, and it did not show up anywhere in the picture at all. So it's gonna be hard to see on camera unless it's like a big leak. So anyway, I have some UV dye on me. I'm gonna check to see how much refrigerant is left inside of the car. Just pop on the gauge. I don't have a set of manifold gauges on me. I rented those whenever I was doing the AC on this car, but I'm going to just pop on your basic at-home kind of, try to recharge it for a little bit because there's a leak in the system, but you need some AC because it's hot out. So I'm going to throw on one of those lines, and I believe I can throw some oil inside of the line. So whenever I thread the can on, I can at least put some UV dye into the system. So I might fill up the hose like 2 times or something like that, just so I can have some UV dye circulating into the system. So yeah, let me go ahead and grab that hose. Let me get all set up, and then we'll try to do this. All right, guys, so I have the car running right now, and the gauge is reading pretty much at 0. Sorry, there's a glare on it, but it's probably maybe 5 PSI. So I'm gonna switch the car off. I'm going to try to put some UV dye into the hose and put a new can on there, and then we're gonna try to just add some refrigerant, because clearly it is completely empty and I have a bigger leak than I suspected. All right, so this is the UV dye that I'm using. This is a 1 ounce bottle. It says add a 1/4 ounce to the system. So that is not a lot at all, which is good. If we look here, this is the part that connects to the fitting on the AC system, and this is the part that connects to the can. So I'm going to try to pour some UV dye right into there. I'm going to see if it goes into the hose. If it does, perfect. If not, I will just fill this portion a few times, and then just constantly open the can, let some in, close it, take it off, put some more in here, and repeat the cycle. And yes, I know I should purge the line, but since I'm trying to find the leak, I'm going to have to evacuate the system anyway, so any air that gets in there right now is negligible. So let's see if I can pour some of this in here. So a 1/4 bottle, that is right around here. There's markings on this bottle itself. Yep. It is just coming out the side there. That's kind of what I was afraid of. You see, it's just leaking out the side. All right, guys, so I decided to use my brain a little bit. So I, before putting on the can, I decided to put the dye into this side of the hose, and it actually works so much better because now the hose is filled with a 1/2 ounce of dye, and then I put my can on. So now the dye is all nice in there, and there's just a little bit in here. So I'm just going to tilt it back like this just to try to drain any residual. And then I'm gonna hook it up to the car, and then we're gonna go ahead and fill it up. Alrighty guys, here we go. I'm gonna try to make this fast so no dye leaks out. All right, It is on. And now let's go ahead and start the car and get the AC on and then put some refrigerant in. Here we go. There we go. Now there's enough refrigerant in there. My condenser fan kicked on. Now if we look over on the gauge, I'm at about 25 PSI on there. I'm going to add a bit more. Since this is in like an awful spot, it's really hard to actually fill it right. All right, so now that I have the dye in there, I'm going to let the car run. I'm going to shut these lights off. Now, since I'm in a closed garage with the car running, I'm going to make this fast. So let's go see if we see any leaks. Okay, wow, you can see that when I took that that line off, it sprayed a lot of dye around. All right, so we can see the dye cycling in the system right now. I don't see any back here. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean off that whole compressor area. Make sure I get all that UV dye off of there. And then we're going to start the car again and see if the leak is over by the compressor. So let me go ahead and spray some brake parts cleaner all over there, wipe everything off, and then we'll do that test again. All right, so I have everything all cleaned off, and now I'm going to start the car up again, and I'm just gonna let it run. I'm gonna have the garage door open and just see if it's like a slower leak and it just takes time to come out. All right, AC is on, and I can kind of see with the garage door open. See, I can see it just cycling in there. That's awesome. All right, so I want to check the evaporator. So I'm going to just go ahead and pop out the glove box and try to get to the evaporator itself, and then we're going to check that out to see if there's a leak there. So I'm going to do that, and I will be back, guys. All right, guys, so I checked the evaporator. 0 leaks back there. Put a mirror back there. Put the UV light in there. Nothing. I cleaned over by the compressor a few times again just to get any of that spray from the UV dye that came out. So far, nothing is leaking over there. I checked everything. I checked everything over so many times. There's one spot that I found right in the middle of the condenser at the very, very bottom. I have to be underneath the car to see it. It is so hard to see, I can't even get a picture of it. But it is such a small, like, drop that I saw on there. And I think that's where it's leaking from. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, because I looked at the radiator and I saw just at the outlet side, just a little bit of the UV green, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. So what I did, I sprayed it all off, and I'm going to just let it do its thing for about a week. So I'm going to continue starting up the car, letting the AC run, and just keep monitoring that spot. And if that drip gets any bigger, or if it constantly drips out of there, that means I have an issue with the condenser itself, which I cannot get a new condenser anymore since they're discontinued, which sucks. I hope it's not that. Really hope it's not that. But yeah, anyway, so I'm not going to post this video for a couple weeks until I continue to monitor that one spot. So hopefully I can have an answer sometime in the future. So anyways, guys, well, I'll see you whenever I have an update. And so far with my troubles, you guys should go ahead and go to the description to check out my shop below. Pick you up some merch. These are really comfortable shirts. I have a few designs. They're awesome. Get you a hat. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the future.
One eternity later.
Alrighty, guys. It's been about 2 weeks now since I put that UV dye in the AC system on the Supra. So let's go ahead and try to find out where it is leaking at. I'm not going to start up the car. I'm just going to see if any of the residual pressure has forced any of that dye to leak out. So let me go ahead and close the garage door and let's go look. All right, so that overhead light is still on, but that's okay because it's plenty dark underneath the hood. So I got the light. Let's see if this pops up on camera. All right, so that is, of course, saturated in some UV dye. That is from when it sprayed out whenever I took out the low pressure line. So that is totally fine. That looks normal. Let's see. I don't see anything leaking down there. Let's check the lines over here. Any lines back here leaking? Nope. Sensors. No. Nothing there. Let's see. How about that line down there? Nada. High pressure side looks fine. That connection down there looks fine. Let's see, anything on the condenser? Oh. That was not there last time. My oil cooler has a little bit of that dye on it. I'll check that out in a second. That line for the dryer looks okay. Sorry, you can't see it. Let's check the condenser itself. I do see some. It's really hard to see on camera. I do see some coming out of that condenser because it is leaking on my oil cooler. And oh no. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the bottom of the condenser, I see where the UV dye is just pooled up on the fins. Oh, it's so hard to show on camera. That's annoying. It looks like it's leaking from over on this side, where the oil cooler is. Let me. You're not gonna be able to see it, but let me just take a peek underneath the car to see if I can look at the condenser a bit more. All right, that's. Oh wow. Let me open up the door. It's dark. Oh my God, it's so bright right now. Jeez. All right, so that's really annoying. I looked from underneath the car. I tried putting the camera up there. It doesn't show up on camera, but the bottom part of that condenser, let me try to point out now that we have some light. If you can peek through, let's see. Yeah, there's like on that bottom part of the condenser, right where you can see where the camera's pointing at, there is just UV dye that's just puddled up on the bottom part of the fins. It looks like it's coming down where the oil cooler is at, which I don't know how that got punctured because I put the oil cooler on there and I put those foam pads on it and I just put the zip ties through and or the radiator or oil cooler mounting zip ties, the long ones. And I did the same thing on the back side. And everything's like secure. There's no metal touching it. So I don't know how that would have caused it to just fail. Unless maybe when I was tightening the AN lines on the oil cooler, maybe the wrench might have hit part of it or maybe kind of twisted the oil cooler in such a way by accident. But from what I remember, I was pretty gentle or pretty cautious of tightening those AN lines down not to puncture or damage that condenser at all. But I guess not. That really sucks. Actually, really sucks because this condenser is now discontinued. I remember making the video on putting the condenser in because when I was putting the AC system in, a lot of you guys know that follow me, and I linked the condenser that I bought, and it was available for a while, and then randomly Denso just decided to discontinue it. So I'm not really too sure what to do from there because now my only option is to maybe try to find a shop that could possibly repair it. That might be doable. Or maybe I can try to repair it. I don't even know how to repair it. Maybe it's just like brazing it or some process like that. I wonder if I can do it myself, but I guess I can try to call a couple shops to see what that process would be. It just really sucks. That might be a winter project whenever I'm not really driving the car all that much. That way I can take out the radiator and then take the condenser out from there. But this sucks, guys. If you know any options on how to repair it, let me know below. I don't really want to buy a used 30-year-old one because I swapped from my 30-year-old one So I want to try to keep this new one if it can be repaired, or maybe try to find another one, because everywhere I looked, it's all discontinued, and everyone that like sells them, they try to ask $1,000 plus for it when this was just $140 when I bought it. So that sucks, guys. Well, this never ends with this car. Anyways, if you guys want to support the channel, you can go ahead and get yourself some merch. Pick up one of these t-shirts. I have a few different variants out, and get yourself one of these hats. I have my shop linked in the description below. Anyways, let me know some options below. And like always, I'll catch you guys on the next ride.